my phone being penetrated with Pegasus or something like that. I have no idea whether it's true or not, but this is the only source of information I can have about me personally being of interest to any of the secret agencies.
But you've got to think, even though you haven't done an interview in 7 years-ish, it's widely known by people who are interested who you are and your role in this. I mean, you've got to think you're under just crazy amounts of surveillance, wouldn't you think?
That's probably true. It would sound funny, but I assume by default that the devices I use are compromised.
Yeah.
Because you will still use an iPhone or an Android phone, and after experiencing what I experienced in the US, I have very limited faith in platforms developed in the US from a security standpoint.
Yes, privacy standpoint.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because in a lot of countries, ours, America included, spying is described as, quote, security. You're looking at it from the other perspective. You're assuming that security is privacy and my right not to be spied upon, but big governments describe spying upon you as security.
Thank you for this correction.
So last question, since you've done this since you were in college and you've been at the center of it, where do you see it going? And by this, I mean the free exchange, the private exchange of information between sovereign individuals, human beings, non-slaves. When I was a child, that was possible. It's increasingly difficult. Are we moving toward a world where there just is no private communication? Or do you think that privacy will remain despite, say, AI or just massive increases in computing power?
Well, this depends on the extent of privacy. When you say privacy will remain, do you mean that we have absolute privacy now?
I don't think that we do. And I think the world is becoming less amenable, governments becoming less tolerant of privacy. And that's clearly the trend because they have more technological power. But will they win? I guess, will there ever be a way to preserve privacy? Is there a place for it?
I believe in that. I'm an optimist. I think some new secure hardware, communication devices will be created in a similar way that now we have hardware wallets to store your cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have secure communication devices, to send messages or do voice calls. It's possible. I do believe that, the world develops in cycles, and if things seem to go in one direction today, doesn't mean that tomorrow they will go the same direction. I also feel that at some point people will get tired of what they experience today, and they would decide to, move to some other direction. So I seen it after COVID, for example. So during COVID, you had a lot of restrictions. Also on social media platforms. On most social media platforms, you were not really allowed to express doubt in relation to lockdowns, or vaccines, or masks. And at some point, I could feel that the sentiment changed. People started to feel very, very tired and sometimes angry with the fact that they were not allowed to express their opinions. Particularly after the end of the pandemic, a lot of people started to be even more skeptical about the restrictions in their freedoms that they experienced during the pandemic.
What was your position as a business owner during COVID? You must have come under pressure to censor opinions on lockdowns, vaccines, masking. How did you respond?
So our position is pretty straightforward. We're a neutral platform. We were helping governments to spread their message about the lockdowns and masks and vaccines. We had dozens of governments who we really helped disseminate their information. But we also didn't want to restrict the voices that were critical of all these measures. We thought it made sense for these opposing views to collide and hopefully, see some truth come out of those debates. And of course, we got criticized for that. But looking back, I think it was the right strategy.
So you allowed people to voice doubts about the so-called science throughout the experience?
Exactly. During the pandemic, I think we're one of the few, or maybe the only major social media platform that didn't take down accounts that were skeptical in relation to some of these measures.
So why are you not famous and treated as a hero in the United States? Shouldn't there be a parade in your honor? If you're the only social media platform not to take down what turned out to be true, or to some extent true, certainly more true than the CDC guidance. I mean, why weren't you Times Man of the Year? Why isn't your face on the nickel?
I'm not an expert in the US politics. But to be fair, you have now Twitter or X.
Yeah.
That seemingly becoming more pro freedom of speech, and
I think it is.
It's a great development. And back to our earlier discussion about how all of this is developing in cycles, things are starting to change, it seems.
So but in some ways, Elon buying Twitter sort of ends your monopoly. But you still greet it cheerfully. You're still in favor of it.
Definitely. We love the fact that Elon bought Twitter. We thought it was a great development for a number of reasons. First reason is just innovation. You could see X trying a lot of things. Some of them will turn out to be mistakes. Some of them will work, but at least they're trying to innovate. That's something we didn't have outside of Telegram and a few other companies in this industry for the last 10 years. What you saw from the big players, they would rather copy the proven models, the features that apps like Telegram launched, and just scale them on a larger audience. And these features would be pale reflections of what we built. But this was the way those companies still operate. What X is trying to do is in line what we are building, innovation, trying different things, trying to give power to the creators, trying to get the ecosystem economy going. Those are all exciting things. And I think we need more companies like that. I don't know if it's good for humanity that like Elon is spending so much time on Twitter, making it better, but it's definitely good for the social media industry.
When you see the guys who run these other companies, like what do you know them, and do you ever talk about freedom of speech? I mean, if you run into Mark, you don't have to answer, of course, if you don't want, but like if you're into Mark Zuckerberg,
we met with Mark more than 10 years ago. I was still running VK, and I told Mark and his colleagues about our app platform. We launched an app platform. I think it was 2009 at VK. They were very interested. It was an interesting meeting. They ended up trying to copy not what we did, but what I told them we did. It was funny. I remember him asking me whether we were planning to start something on a global basis, on the global level, like go for international expansion. I said no, and I asked him whether he was going to try to capture more of my domestic market where I was working on. And he said no, and we both ended up doing exactly that in like 2 or 3 weeks. That was.
So I'm thinking I shouldn't go into business with Mark Zuckerberg.
Look, no comment.
Pavel Durov, thank you very much. It was a great conversation. I appreciate it, and we're rooting for you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.